Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Utah Stories Show. My name is Rich Markosian. Today on the program, we're doing something very new, very exciting, very different. It's called a deep dive. It's a new segment we're going to be doing regularly. It's going to be related to an investigative journalism piece we do where we're deep diving into the Salt Lake City inland port, where we're going to show you clips from proponents of the port, clips from opposition to the port, the protest rally. We actually go out and visit the port. We're going to take a look at it, take you there, show you what's out there. And it's going to be a really cool episode. I think you're going to like it because it's an all new way of examining local news at a greater depth than what you're able to get from the mainstream media. So, before I get into that, I got to tell you a little bit about our Made in Utah Festival. It's coming up in December. We've already signed up about 50 vendors, and they're all some of the very best product makers in Utah. That's really what this is all about. We're trying to find the very best of the best product makers in Utah, invite them into one place, have a sound stage where bands play all day, offer beer and cocktails where you can do your local holiday shopping all in one place, spend all the money for all of your Christmas presents locally, build a local economy, enjoy a cocktail, enjoy music. What more could you ask for? It's seriously going to be an amazing event. Go check out madeinutahfest.com to learn all about it. If you know somebody making a product out of leather or wood, especially, we're looking for more local craftspeople, just a few more who are really especially good with leather and wood. Get them over to our website, have them apply, because we just need a few more in that category. Tons of great food people right now, but we need a few more in that product category. And the Utah Stories Show is also brought to you by Curry Pizza. Curry Pizza has been serving Indian food for over 10 years. Guy Fieri recently learned about Curry Pizza, featured them on Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. Go check out the episode, but more importantly, go check out Curry Pizza. It is truly awesome pizza. The show is also brought to you by Utah State, home of the Aggies. Living on campus means more sleep, more food, more friends, and better grades. While others are driving or walking to campus, you're getting those precious extra minutes of sleep. Instead of going home to your mom or your cat, you're hanging out with roommates, neighbors, and friends. On-campus housing is a community of academic support, peers, mentors, friends, and constant activities. For a virtual tour, room details, theme options, or to apply, visit usu.edu/housing. All right, so let's get into it. So there's quite a few people who are involved in the inland port, but no person is more involved than a guy by the name of Derek Miller. So who is Derek Miller? Miller is actually the head of the Salt Lake City Chamber of Commerce, and now he has been elected to be the Inland Port Authority chairperson. Derek Miller has been a proponent of the inland port for the past 3 or 4 years. He's been working on it. He basically got into it when Jackie Piskupski was first elected. She really loved the idea of more economic development before she began as mayor. But let's take a good look at Derek Miller and a clip from when he was on a program called The County Seat, explaining the big benefit of why we need an inland port here in Utah.
How do we become or go from the crossroads of the West to the crossroads of the world? Well, we already have that unique geographic location that will give us all that warehousing. When we build the inner port, that transfer facility to go from rail to truck to air, and to bring in the ability to clear customs, to have a foreign trade zone that allows you to do manufacturing tax-free, so that you're only paying once on whatever you build as it leaves your facility. That creates the magnet for the job creation that we're talking about. Your question is, how many would be in Salt Lake? How many would be in Tooele County?
Okay, let's stop it right there. So the discussion on that program was interesting because it was going into, okay, but why and how do we need more jobs in Salt Lake? Right now, we have way too many people coming to Salt Lake. We can't even accommodate them all. We currently have 50,000 units short of the housing needs we want. Why do we need more jobs of people who want to come here and work at an inland port, basically taking goods off of trucks and planes and putting them onto other new trucks and planes. And Derek Miller is trying to say, oh no, it's going to spill over to other counties, more jobs are going to be created in more of Utah. But that is all stuff that remains to be seen. What Mr. Miller proposed 4 years ago with Biskupski is we take 16,000 acres of land that is on the northwest quadrant of Utah. I actually went out there. We took this picture for our cover of the magazine to build it here and over this sort of swampland and turn it into a massive shipping and receiving center. It might have been a good idea 4 years ago, but my definite conclusion is it is not a good idea for this area here and now and today. So what I want to go into is I want to have you hear from one of the chief opponents of the inland port. This is Dr. Brian Mensch, and he was on this program a couple of weeks ago talking about the inland port, and this is how he describes it.
We're already seeing almost everybody that was polled at a recent town hall meeting was basically shocked at the prospects of having another new significant source of air pollution on the Wasatch Front. And that's what this is. We're talking thousands of new diesel trucks in and out of the valley every year, every day. We're talking dozens of heavily loaded, fully loaded commodity trains with very polluting diesel engines. And then we're talking, I don't know how much more airplane traffic. Airplane traffic is a significant source of pollution.
Okay. So what Mr. Dr. Brian Mensch went on to say is that in the last 50 years, there has not been a single industry that has come to Salt Lake City that will cause more pollution than this inland port. Had we known that 4 years ago, I don't think we would have been excited about it then, and it certainly doesn't give us any reason to be excited about it today. So what we're finding is that public support of the inland port is deteriorating. I want to show you a clip that was taken back in July. It's the closest thing I've seen to a riot happening in downtown Salt Lake City. This was at the Salt Lake City Chamber building. This was kind of the fun part where the buffalo guy was dancing around and somebody's dressed like a seagull and somebody like a flamingo. And then that's all fine and good. And then we move forward and it deteriorates. The police kick everybody out. And all the protesters who wanted to come in couldn't get in, so they flipped off the police. They're obviously super pissed, pounding on the door, and it got pretty ugly. They arrested like 6 people. Outside, it spilled out into the entire street of 400 South. So, like Dr. Mensch explained, public opinion has deteriorated on this. We don't want it anymore. I would love to have, like I said, Derek Miller or the governor on this program to explain why we need the port still. If he still believes this would be a great idea for Salt Lake, I'd love to have him explain how and why we need the jobs, we need the pollution here. Because if we went back 4 years and we knew that Salt Lake City would become such a hotbed for tech and we'd get all these people coming in from California, I think we would have never said it would be a good idea for Salt Lake. But they're starting to realize that this idea of creating a hub and spoke model might be a better idea, where trucks can go out to other rural areas where they actually need the jobs, they need the commerce, and do what Mr. Miller was talking about, have a trade-free zone where they can unload the trucks, they can manufacture things without trade import duties imposed on things. There was talks about actually manufacturing or assembling cars where the parts are already delivered. They were talking about expanding Boeing's operations. That's all really wonderful if it happens someplace else. But unless there's an option to do something like a hub and spoke model where we send out the products by rail to, say, like Fillmore, Utah, it's the former capital of Utah, send it out to Fillmore, create a big, hub of activity out there, that would be wonderful. But instead, the state is still coming in and imposing their idea, their vision for the future growth of the Salt Lake Valley, using the Salt Lake Valley's land, 16,000 acres of it, to exactly do what they want to do. My question boils down to 6 questions, which is this legal? So that's the question we ask in this issue of Utah Stories, and I just wanted to ask you, the listener, reader, watcher, if you know the answer to these legal questions, and we're actually going to have somebody on in a couple of weeks who can help us answer a lot of these questions, but I want to send it out to our YouTube community, our listeners on iTunes, the people who visit our website, to see if you know of a legal expert or a scholar or somebody in your area who could answer some of these questions, because I started studying the law and the basic legal questions, and this is kind of what it boils down to, and I'm going to read all 6 of them to you now. All right, number 1. How and why does the state of Utah, the governor, the state legislature, have the power and jurisdiction to decide what we in Salt Lake City need is an inland port? So why does the state legislature get to intervene and say, yes, this should happen? This is a city issue. It's a local issue. It should be under local jurisdiction. That's the central issue. Question number 2, why should leaders who mostly live at higher elevations, away from affected areas, have the authority to decide that this area and the surrounding areas in lower elevations, where mostly low-income people live, should be adversely affected and impacted by the 16,000-acre shipping and receiving center, taking in thousands of trucks and airplanes, all major polluting entities? That's number 2. Number 3, the committee members of a group called the Inland Port Authority, led by Derek Miller, will have most of the power and jurisdiction over the inland port. Why do members of our state legislature and governor's office have the authority to appoint committee members who will essentially have more power as unelected leaders than our properly elected mayor and city council? So this is 16,000 acres, guys. This is like as much territory as all of the main hub of downtown Salt Lake. We elect our mayor to be over the jurisdiction and power of our downtown area. Why should 16,000 acres, which is also part of the city, be under the jurisdiction and control under a committee group of unelected leaders? Why should they have more power than our elected leaders? I don't think that is legal. And if I'm wrong, let me know. I would like to know. Number 4, as outlined in the Constitution of the United States, we live in a democratic republic. We have democratically elected our leaders to serve us, not special interests. Why wouldn't they simply ask us by ballot initiatives if we want to invest billions of dollars and 16,000 acres of our precious land into a polluting inland port? Why not put it on a ballot initiative? Leave it up to us. Number 5, the inland port will generate a huge tax increment for the state of Utah, not the city. If it is the state who's receiving the benefit, is that fair? Shouldn't Salt Lake City and its residents be the primary benefactors of this tax increment? Why couldn't we use that money? If we were going to take in all this money, why not use it to reduce pollution, move a lot of industry outside of the valley, and make our air cleaner? Why wouldn't we be able to use that money in that tax increment how we want to? That's number 5. Number 6 is the state's reasoning behind moving forward with the inland port is it will create jobs. How or why is it the government's job to create jobs? I thought the job of the government was to pass laws to protect and preserve our rights and freedoms. Furthermore, the economic duties of our elected leaders is to preserve capitalism in the free market. So why should the government be in the business of picking winners and losers? Why are they deciding, oh, we're going to do all this work, trust us, we're going to create the best economy for Utah, we're going to create the jobs? Doesn't that sound a little bit like communism or socialism? Why do we live in one of the most conservative states in the union, and they're deciding they're going to impose on us these jobs created by the state? I don't think that they need to do that. I've never seen a government job created in the free market which has turned out to be just this wonderful, beneficial job. So in the coming weeks, we're going to answer these questions, and I hope that we get your input. I'd love to see what you have to say about it. So Utah Stories, if you know about us, we started with winning awards online for our citizen journalism by recruiting at the time out of work reporters to come and work on difficult investigative topics and look into the issues that the mainstream media wasn't looking into. So we'd love to bring it out to you and get your input on this one. All right, so another thing we did with this inland port story is we actually went and took a visit out to the Northwest Quadrant to see what it is that we would be losing if we go ahead and build the inland port. I want to show you some clips now of my voyage out to this land, and it's a place I've really never spent a lot of time. When you travel along I-215, you'll eventually get to 2100 North. This is 2100 North heading west. Then you get to the end of 2100 North, and it basically dead ends, and you get to this chain link fence. And then you see all of this land west of the airport. And now you can see I'm looking east at the control tower of Salt Lake City International. Further west, you can see is all this beautiful marshland, swampland. This is what I learned is a major stopping point for millions of birds, migratory birds, and this is where what really makes the Great Salt Lake City ecosystem special. It's really where birds fly in and out. They have a feeding station, and something that was brought up by Dr. Mensch and also another guest we had on our program, Babs DeLay, is that this is a major breeding ground for mosquitoes. This is one of the biggest breeding areas for mosquitoes west of the Mississippi. And if you spend time out there, especially in the early spring, you're going to find that you're going to get swarmed with mosquitoes. And so they have something called a mosquito abatement program, and it's attached to our property taxes. You actually pay about $7 for every $100,000 of home value you have. This amounts to $4 million for spraying the insecticides. And so why not just spray more bugs spray all around the area, get rid of all the mosquitoes, eradicate them, so we could just build over the top of all this? Well, the problem, it turns out, and I give kudos out to the Salt Lake Tribune for doing the work on this story. This was written by Taylor Stevens and Bethany Rogers. The problem with this is you kill the mosquito larvae, and it's actually a larvicide they use, and you kill off the feed for thousands of swallows, bats, and dragonflies. If you kill off the food source for thousands of bats, swallows, and dragonflies, then the bats, swallows, and dragonflies will not live anymore. And you say, oh, who cares about swallows? You know, it's the migratory birds and the big birds we like. Well, the problem is the Salt Lake golden eagle. It's the giant birds that everybody loves to go watch. The golden eagles feed on swallows. They are predatory birds, and if there's no swallows, if their food's gone, then there's no golden eagles. And if we then don't have the food source for bats and dragonflies, then those are gone too. Those are also an important part of the ecology of the Great Salt Lake, which I won't go in too much more detail on. But what I've learned is that in the past 50 years, North America has suffered the loss of 3 billion, that's 3 billion with a B, fewer birds. And a major cause of that is light pollution, insecticides, pesticides, factory farms, and industrialization. So when we have this massive state of Utah, and I've been all over it, traveled all around it, we've got this special area where millions of birds make a pit stop. Why would we decide that the inland port of all places should go right there? I think it's a terrible idea. If anything, we should recover some of that land that you saw west of the airport that's been drained and basically plowed under. Recover that to be more wetlands. Have a cool watching area where you can see more birds and this amazing ecology that happens there every spring. The point is really, this program, this magazine is based on the idea that our greatest asset living in Utah is our environment. It's our environment, it's our wildlands, it's our mountains. It's the way we've maintained our wildlands so that we have a connection with nature from living here. If we destroy that, we destroy the greatest asset we have living in Utah. I'm all for an inland port. I'm all for creating jobs. I'm all for helping rural Utah build the inland port someplace else. Don't build it here in Salt Lake City. And that about does it with our deep dive program. I hope you enjoyed it. I want to tell you about one more sponsor. The program is also brought to you in part by Legends Pub and Grill, which is locally owned, and they serve fresh, wholesome, delicious ingredients. Legends features steaks, burgers, sandwiches, salads, pizzas, and calzones. Plus, now they offer gluten-free and vegetarian options. Legends features 30 craft and local beers, and they accommodate all ages because they have a restaurant area and they have a bar area, so you can dine with your kids in the restaurant and you can dine with your buddies and watch the games in their bar. And they now have 2 locations to serve you, downtown Salt Lake City at 677 South, 200 West, and at Southtown at 10631 South, Holiday Park Drive. All right. I thank you so much for joining me this program. If you want to be a bigger part of this program, you can do so in one of 3 ways. If you are a YouTube watcher, please hit the thumbs up if you feel like you've gotten something out of this. And while you're at it, subscribe to the program. That really helps us to build up our audience and to get more advertising support. Click on the little bell icon so you're alerted when we get new shows. If you're on iTunes or Stitcher or Spotify, if you have the ability to give us a review, we'd love to have a review and have you share the program with a friend. And last but not least, we are no longer doing memberships to the Utah Stories Show. We decided that model is going to be great when we have more effective local journalism that we have for you to support. Instead, what we're asking for is become a subscriber of Utah Stories Magazine. We'll send you this magazine every single month right to your door for $24 for the entire year. And or come out to our Made in Utah Winterfest and buy the best of local Utah. This is actually our major fundraising effort. If you buy from them and support this festival, you are supporting us in that program. So we really hope that you come out and it really is a massive celebration of the best of local Utah, our cultural heritage, the people who build the tapestry that is our local economic vibrancy in Utah. It's what makes our communities great. Local businesses is what everybody remembers. And so pick up Utah Stories, support all our advertisers, come to the Made in Utah Festival, and support all of our vendors. That's the best thing you can do. So a big thank you to all of you who are helping us grow. We've picked up 300 new subscribers in YouTube. That was awesome. And special thanks to Connie Lewis, who's our production coordinator. Our technical engineer is Tyler Bond. Thank you for him. That's all for now. Until next time, thanks for listening and watching. Bye-bye.